Adding and subtracting decimals. How do I add and subtract decimals? Well, it's actually pretty easy. The only thing that you need to do is to make sure that you line up all the decimal points. So if I was adding up these 4 decimals, I just want to make sure that all my decimal points are lined up. So you can see here, all my decimal points are lined up. And don't forget to put the decimal in your answer. Now some kids like to fill in these missing gaps here with zeros. It really doesn't matter. And if you do add zeros, it doesn't change the value of those numbers at all. So if you were adding these sets of numbers, I'm going to start with 0.8. Sometimes what I like to do is before I write the second number, I'll actually put the decimal point, then I'll write the number. So 0.007. I'll make the decimal point first, make sure they're all lined up. And that's 13.43. And then I would just go ahead and add up those numbers. Let me do the next one. So I'd start with 0.61. Doesn't really matter which number you start with. I like to make my decimal first, then make my numbers. 24.001. Really the key to adding decimals is just to be neat and organized and to make sure that not only are all of your decimals lined up, but make sure that all of your numbers are lined up as well. So these are all lined up, and you shouldn't have any problems. Now what do you do with whole numbers? A common mistake that I see kids make when I don't put a decimal with a number, they want to put the decimal in front of the number. Well, this is the number 8. That's 8 whole. If you put the decimal here, you've just made it less than 1. You've made it 8/10. Make sure that you put decimal points on whole numbers after the numbers. So how about subtracting decimals? Let's finish this question right here. So I'm going to put a decimal. I'm doing 14 minus 14 thousandths. Now here you would have to add the zeros in order to solve this. And then I could just go ahead and finish the subtraction. Again, make sure that you put your decimal point in your answer. And let's do just a couple more. I'm just going to line these up. So as I said, when you have a whole number like 33, let's make sure that we put our decimal point at the end. I like to put the decimal point before I write the next number, and we have 1.06, 1 600ths. So if I was going to solve this, I really should fill in, well, I need to put the zeros there before I do the subtraction. The next one, 145, doesn't have a decimal point, so I'm going to give it 1. And before I write the next number, I'm going to put the decimal point right underneath. And this is subtraction. This is 11 and 2 10,000ths. And again, you would, because this is subtraction, I would have to put my zeros up here. And then I would go ahead and just subtract that number and make sure I put my decimal point down in the answer. So again, the key really to adding and subtracting decimals, it's just being neat and making sure that not only are all your decimal points lined up, you want to make sure that all of your numbers are lined up as well. And you shouldn't have any problems.